All right, so we'll come to the mat in extended child's pose. You know what to do. Big toes in together, knees as wide as you want them to be. Walk your hands out, melt your head and chest down to the mat. Start to sync up with your breath, deepen the breath. Anchoring through the fingertips, softening the hips back toward the heels. Getting nice and long through the side body. So I'm just going to take you through what I typically go through in the mornings before I sit through a class or yoga recording, just kind of moving organically through the different planes and different parts of the body to get prepared for movement for the day. Again, just syncing up with your breath, setting your intention for the day and for the practice. Bring your awareness into the fingertips. Press into the fingertips to anchor through the hips. Nice and long through the back of the arms and the side body, the upper back. We'll start by walking the fingertips off to the left. Very gently, take your time. Melt down when you've reached the edge of your range of motion on that side. It's a really great side body stretch. Walk those fingertips on the right a little further away from the body if it feels good. So you're still anchoring through the fingertips, still nice and long through the side body and the upper back. Maybe feeling a little compression in that left hip. Sinking your hips back toward the heels. You feel good on that side, you can press into your fingertips and walk them back through center. We'll take that stretch on the right. If this is your first movement of the day, just explore within your range. Expect a little more tightness, a little more stiffness than you typically have during yoga. Just observe. Starting to receive the signals that your body's sending you. Letting you know what it needs. Sinking up a little deeper with the breath. When you feel good on the right, you can press into those fingertips and walk back through center. And here we'll press up to all fours, tabletop position. So palms are underneath the shoulders, knees are underneath the hip points. And we'll start with a little cat-cow or any variation therein that feels good for your back. So make sure you're supporting the low back to begin with by drawing the abdominal wall inward to meet the spine. And then on your next big inhale, you're going to drop the belly, open up through the chest, lift the gaze. Big stretch through the front body. And on your exhale, use that abdominal wall to curl inward, dome through the upper back, press into the tops of the feet, the palms. And just sync up with your breath. Inhale, drop the belly. Look up. And exhale, articulate through the spine, press away from your mat, arching through the upper back. So just take a few of these as needed. Listen to what your body's telling you. If it feels great, it's a great way to start your practice or start your day. And then add any easy organic movement that feels good. So I like to look back over my left hip at my left foot, and then look over the right for my right foot. The stretch feels really nice through the outer hip, through the side body. You can also send the hips back in a circular motion, bringing them toward the heels and then back toward the top, back to tabletop. You can roll through that a few times if it feels good. Starting to prepare the joints for movement, breaking up that fascia that builds up overnight. Go ahead and reverse if you'd like. And when you come back to center, we're going to cross at the ankles, come back to a seat. I'm going to turn to face you, but you can face whatever way is comfortable. Try putting one foot in front of the other, kind of, I don't know how to describe, but instead of tucked in like a normal cross-legged seat, let's try to open up a little bit more through the hips. Bring those shin bones down toward the mat a little more. And we'll just take a second here to stack the spine, open up through the chest, start to breathe deep. So take this pose even in stillness to build strength in the low back and the mid back, just supporting your posture, keeping the shoulders rolled back, chest tall and open. Tuck the chin just a bit. Close your eyes if it feels good. From here, we'll bring the palms together in front of the chest. Interlace the fingertips and then press away. Just getting a big stretch through the upper back. You can dome through the upper back. Think cat pose. Then bring it all the way up and overhead. Same thing, reach really high. Getting nice and long through the side body on both sides. Just noticing what you feel. Trying to stay anchored through the hips. And from here, we'll gently melt down, bring that left hand to the top of the right knee, right palm behind you, sit up, lift, and twist. Opening up through that right shoulder, maybe looking back over your right shoulder. Staying nice and long through the spine. Open through the chest, still breathing deep. And then gently, mindfully release. We'll come back to center. Let's just put the opposite foot in front. Try to bring those shin bones toward the mat. Take a second, feel anchored. And then bring the palms together at the heart. Interlace the fingertips. Press away from the body, doming through the upper back, getting that big upper back stretch. Tuck the chin if it feels good. And then lift up, palms toward the ceiling, get nice and long. And melt, trying to stay anchored through the hips. And from here, we'll gently melt down, bring that left hand to the top of the right knee, right palm behind you, sit up, lift, and twist. Opening up through that right shoulder, maybe looking back over your right shoulder. Staying nice and long through the spine. Open through the chest, still breathing deep. And then gently, mindfully release. We'll come back to center. Let's just put the opposite foot in front. Try to bring those shin bones toward the mat. Take a second, feel anchored.
Bring the palms together at the heart, interlace the fingertips. Press away from the body, doming through the upper back, getting that big upper back stretch. Tuck the chin if it feels good. And then lift up, palms toward the ceiling, get nice and long. And melt down to the right. Right hand to the top of left knee, left palm plants behind you. Sit up, lift, and twist, opening up through that left shoulder. Maybe looking back over the left shoulder, staying anchored through the hips. Big inhale, and slowly release back to center. So then we'll just start with some small neck rotations, start checking out what's going on in the neck. So using your nose, just start drawing some small circles in any direction you like, and exploring your range of motion. So start to get bigger in these circles as you notice what you feel in the neck today. Take your time, just observing. Reverse that if it feels good. Notice what you're feeling, hearing, etc. Just observing and allowing that gentle movement to start the day. If you'd like, you can draw a straight line upward toward the ceiling. And straight back down, chin to chest. And do that a couple of times if it feels good. And then we will drop that when you come back to center next. Drop that right ear over the right shoulder. Gently take the right hand to the left ear. And use the weight of gravity just to pull through the neck. Notice what you feel, nice and gentle, nice and mindful. And then if you want to, lift the hand, send the palm out to the left, and then drop it down to hip level. You can do that. Keep those fingertips flipped up toward the ceiling. And maybe start to draw some small circles with that left palm if it feels good. Just noticing what you feel. Remember, tucking the chin will focus more on the traps in the base of the back of the neck. So just explore within that. I know I'm always sore there, so I like to always tuck my chin during neck stretches. So find what you need. And when you feel good on that side, take your time there. We'll slowly release. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. So drop that left ear over the left shoulder. Left hand comes to the right ear. Just let gravity gently pull downward. Give you a little more length through the neck. Check out what you're feeling there. Again, I like to tuck the chin a little bit. And if it feels good, you can send that right palm forward and then out to the right. Drop it down to hip level. Feel that nice connection with the traps. Draw those small circles if it feels good. Just find what you need within this pose. Take your time there. When you're ready, come back to center. We're gonna once again interlace the fingertips, send them up and overhead, and then bring them down behind the back of the head and neck. And we're just gonna pull the elbows inward together and then curl inward through the upper back, nice and slow. Just kind of letting the weight of gravity pull down on the back of the neck. Find a spot that's safe for you, that's comfortable for you. And try to relax the head and neck completely. Just breathing into your upper back. Not pulling. No pressure, just gravity. When you feel good, you can plant the sits bones slowly, mindfully, curl back up, protecting the neck, nice and slow. And then we're gonna come to lying on your back. So however you get there, you get there. And we'll just go through some of our typical hip openers, hip stretches, stuff that I like to do in the morning, especially when I'm feeling stiff. Beginning with crossing the right ankle over the left knee. You can rest your left palm on the floor and just use your right palm to gently press into that inner right thigh. Just gently moving through the range of motion there, noticing what you feel, especially in that right hip. Left foot stays planted in line with your left hip. And we'll go through a few variations here, so you take whatever your body's asking you for today. If you're really tight or sore in the hips, you can just stay here and keep working here. Otherwise, you can lift that left foot up off the floor and interlace your fingertips behind the left thigh. Left knee stays bent at a 90-degree angle. Left foot is flexed toward the left shin. And right elbow is again pressing into the middle of that right thigh. So you're still opening up through the right hip. And just gently flexing the biceps to bring that left thigh closer to your face. It's crucial to make sure that your ankle is crossed comfortably over the knee before you get into these poses. Otherwise it can be really distracting. So take your time, listen to your body. Work with your unique body. And then if you want to take this a step further, you can either straighten through that left knee, bring that left heel toward the ceiling, and continue to explore that range of motion in the hip. Or you can keep that left knee bent and bring the fingers to interlace in front of the left shin. Same thing, just drawing those interlaced fingers closer to your face, opening up through that right hip. Just really gently using the biceps to explore that range of motion. So take your time with whatever variation you are in. When you feel good there, we're going to continue to cross that right foot over the left. We're going to press into the left heel to shift the hips slightly to the right, and then just let the knees fall to the left. So you're trying to keep that right rear delt, your right shoulder toward the mat. So if you want to take 90 degrees at both elbows, feel a little anchored here while you get that torso twist, you can do that. You want to send your hands out left to right, you can do that. And if you want to try to address a little QL stretch, you can send your right arm up and overhead. And just try to notice what you feel there. Staying synced up with the breath. We will slowly bring that right arm back down, unravel, and we'll do the same thing on the left. So bringing the soles of your feet back to the mat in line with the hips. You're going to take that left ankle, cross it over the right, and remember to take your time here, adjust if you need to, make sure that that ankle is comfortable crossing that knee, otherwise it can be really distracting through the stretches. So when you're good there, you'll take your left palm, press into that left thigh, just start opening up a little bit. And maybe you'll stay here depending on what you've got going on today in the hips. Or maybe you kick that right foot up, interlace the fingertips behind that right thigh. Right knee bent to 90 degrees, right foot flexed, and left elbow pressing into left thigh. As you gently use the biceps, pull that right thigh closer to your face. Just exploring your range of motion. Maybe straightening through that right knee, sending the right heel toward the ceiling. Continuing to explore, just noticing what you feel. Or maybe keeping that right knee bent, interlacing the fingertips in front of the right shin, and exploring that same range of motion that way. Take your time there, find what you need. And when you're ready to transition, you can bring that right sole of the foot back to the mat. Slide that left leg completely across the right. You can set up your arms in cactus arms or straight out, left to right, whichever you prefer. Press into that right heel, shift your hips to the left, and let your legs fall to the right. You want to straighten that left arm up and overhead. You can do that. Otherwise, just working to deepen the breath and keep that left shoulder toward the mat. Take a couple of deep breaths here. And when you're ready, you can slowly reset the arms, unravel the legs, gently, mindfully bring the soles of feet back to the mat. You can walk them wide and let the knees fall in. And then we'll just let the legs fall to the right and to the left, to whatever range of motion you're working with today. And maybe kick both knees up into the chest, wrapping your arms around them, just squeezing, kind of compressing through the fronts of the hips, squeezing it all in, and releasing that. From here, take your time getting there. But we will rock and roll or come up to sitting, however you get there. And then we're going to roll forward onto all fours. And we'll meet in downward facing dog. So curl the toes under, send the hips high and back, working the heels toward the mat, but maybe they don't get there today. Pressing in through both palms evenly, drawing the abdominal wall toward the tops of the thighs, letting the head and the neck just relax. You can bend the knees as much as you need to. You can alternate here. Your first downward dog of the day, so just be gentle.
Take your time in that. Then when you're ready, you're gonna plant that left foot, kick the right leg up high. Maybe bend at the right knee, bring that right heel toward your left shoulder, pressing into both palms evenly. Just trying to open up through that right hip while keeping the left foot planted. And then swinging that right knee all the way through to the top of the mat. We're gonna frame that with the hands. Keep your back knee lifted. You're up on your fingertips, open up through the chest, just looking forward, feeling good, feeling strong. And then you're gonna angle that back left foot toward the top left corner of your mat, and then using your abdominal strength and that strength in that front bent leg, we're gonna lead with the fingertips, opening up to a big warrior two on the left. So right hand goes forward over the right knee, trying to keep that right knee and hip open. Left hand comes behind you, sink a little deeper. And then we'll bring that left hand to the back of the left thigh, right hand up toward the ceiling, and then back behind you, peaceful warrior. Big side body stretch here. Then we're gonna bring that right elbow to the top of the right knee, left hand up and overhead, and then toward the top edge of your mat. If you want to challenge your strength or begin to, you can extend that right arm so fingertips are just hovering above the mat or touching the mat. And from here, we're just gonna start rolling open through that shoulder. Some big rotations here. Just a few of those. And then next time you come around, bring it back to the mat, frame that right foot, bend that right knee generously and send it back for a plank pose. From the top of your plank, we'll slowly lower to the belly, all the way down. Extend the feet long, pointing your toes toward the back edge of the mat. Palms are underneath the shoulders, press up for cobra. Honor your range of motion this morning. Melt it back down to the mat. Press up to plank, and we'll meet again in downward dog. So same thing in downward dog. If you want to pedal through the feet, that's fine. Start to loosen up a little bit. Otherwise, we're working heels toward the mat, pressing into both palms evenly. Head and neck are relaxed. Abdominal wall is drawing inward. Supported through the back body, through the low back. And when you're ready, we'll kick that left leg up really high, nice long line. Keep that right foot planted, bend that left knee, bring that left heel toward the right shoulder, just opening up through that left hip, pressing into both palms evenly. And when you're ready, swing it all the way through to the front edge of your mat. Frame that left foot. Get strong, nice, generous bend in that left knee. Open up through the chest, bring your gaze forward. Take a second, catch up with your breath, feel what you feel. And then when you're ready, we'll angle that back foot. So the right foot, you're kind of pressing into the outside edge as it points toward the top right corner of your mat. And then using your abdominal strength, you'll lead with the fingertips, come all the way up to open to a big warrior two on the right. So left hand is hovering over the left foot, right hand is hovering over the right foot. And then we'll drop that right hand down, send the left one up, reaching toward the ceiling. Big side bend, stay bent in that front knee. Big stretch. And then we'll bring that left elbow all the way around, back toward the top of that left knee. Stay there if you want. Right hand comes all the way up toward the ceiling and then toward the top edge of your mat. So now right hand is hovering kind of over your left foot. If you want to extend the fingertips toward the ground here, you can do that instead, or just stay up
elbow on knee. Make sure your left knee is still bent generously. We'll just go through some shoulder circles, opening up through that right shoulder. Try to stay open through that left hip. And the next time around, plant the palm, frame that left foot, bend that left knee, send the left foot back, plank pose. We'll hold there for just a second, catch your breath, feel strong. Nice long line from the crown of your head to the tip of your tail. And we'll slowly lower to the belly. Extend the feet out nice and long, palms under the shoulders, press up, cobra pose. And then we'll melt back down to the mat, press up to all fours, and take a traditional or extended child's pose, whichever works for you this morning. Some deep breaths here. And then when you're ready, we'll come back up to tabletop, curl the toes under, come back up to downward dog. And we're going to do something similar here. So this time you're going to kick that right leg up high, plant that left foot, left heel is working toward the mat, nice long line. And then you're going to bring that right knee once again to your right elbow. From here, squeeze and lift, and then lower it to that right wrist. Just holding, and then take that right knee to the left wrist. Just holding, hovering, building strength. Bring it up to that left elbow, nice and strong. Back to the right elbow. And then we'll kick it up high and back. Go ahead and lower that right foot to the mat. Get grounded in it. Bring that right heel toward the mat. Come up onto the ball of your left foot and then kick that left foot up high. Same thing on this side. We're going to draw that left knee up and inward toward that left elbow, thinking cat pose in the upper body. And then we're going to lower it to that left wrist. Bring it over to the right wrist. And then squeeze and lift. Left knee to right elbow. We'll go back to that left elbow. And then kick it up high and back. And bring it back down for downward facing dog. Take a second in downward dog, catch up with your breath, pedal through the feet if it feels good. And once you feel good about that, come to stillness in downward dog, and we're going to roll through some downward dog to plank waves. So you're just going to shift your weight forward over the palms, extending through the hips, gaze stays downward, nice long line from the crown of your head to the tip of your tail. And then send the hips up high and back. Sync up with your breath. We'll move through those waves a couple of times. Just noticing what you feel. Building strength. Articulating through the spine. And then next time you're in plank pose, we're just going to move through some mindful mountain climbers. So you're going to alternate drawing your knees in toward your chest. One foot stays planted behind you while the other knee comes up. Move at your own pace, work with your breath. We're not here for long. Building strength. We'll go for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Lower the knees to the mat. Send the hips back, whatever version of child's pose you'd like to take. Take a second to come off the wrists. We'll address that in just a second. If you're in traditional child's pose, just let the shoulders relax, open the palms toward the ceiling, stay synced up with your breath. Breathe deep. And then when you're ready, gonna come back to tabletop position. And then once again, curl the toes under, send the hips up high and back, downward dog. Since you've moved through downward dog a few times, if you want to keep that left palm grounded and bring the right hand to the outside of the left calf or leg, looking under that left armpit chest, it's a great way to stretch deeper through the hamstrings. Otherwise, just stay in downward dog. If you're feeling really tight, you might be pedaling through the feet. Same thing with this stretch on the other side. Sink the weight into the right palm. Lift the left hand, bring it to the outside of the right leg. Gentle bend in that left elbow to look underneath the right arm and armpit chest. And then we'll bring it back to downward dog. So from here, we're going to kick the right leg up high. Keep it nice and long, nice and extended. Feel good about it. Left foot is planted. And then you're going to bring that right knee toward the right elbow. Kick it back up toward the ceiling, three-legged dog. Nice long stretch. This time, draw it in. Bring right knee to the left elbow. Send it back up one more time. This time we're going to bring the the right knee all the way up and through, just squeezing and lifting. And then send it back up, three-legged dog. Keep that leg lifted as you shift forward. And we're going to come down to a plank pose, lower all the way to the belly. And then let that leg relax as you press up into cobra. Same thing, press up to plank. And we'll meet in downward dog. Take a second, regroup, check in with your breath. Pull your t-shirt back down. And then we'll do the same thing on the left. So when you feel grounded, plant that right foot, kick that left leg up high, getting nice and long. And then squeeze and lift that left knee to the left elbow. Nice and slow, nice and mindful, building strength, patient with yourself. Kick that left leg up high. We're going to squeeze and lift that left knee to the right elbow. Kick it back up, get really long, stretch. And then we'll squeeze and lift that left knee toward your nose, toward the center of your chest. One more time, keep that left leg up high, and then you're going to shift your weight forward. Keep that left leg lifted as you slowly lower from plank down to the belly. Let that left foot come to the earth as you press up to cobra. Find what feels good. And then we'll send it back for child's pose. If you want to take an extended child's pose, we're just going to take a second here, catch your breath. And then from here, when you're ready, we'll come back to tabletop, reset. This time you're just going to extend that right leg out long behind you and just rock through that right ankle, right foot a little bit. Start to notice what you feel there, if anything. Again, I like to pay attention to the feet and ankles in my practice because I feel if I don't do it now, I'm probably not going to do it. So take your time there as needed. And just make sure your left knee is in line with your left wrist. And then once you feel good in that right foot and ankle, we're gonna come onto the inside edge of that right foot, put it also in line with that left knee and left wrist. And then open up through the chest, send your right hand toward the ceiling. Feeling nice and balanced, nice and grounded. You can either let your palm face the floor, send your fingertips toward the top edge of your mat, or keep it raised. But from either of these, we're going to try balancing on that left shin And just raising that right leg up to parallel to the ground. And then we'll just tap it down, point through those right toes. Tap it down to the mat very gently, mindfully. Sync up with your breath, challenging your balance, feeling great. Just a couple more. And then next time you're lifted, stay lifted, bend through that right knee. See if you can bring your right hand to the top of your foot. And then press that foot away from your body. Try to stay balanced, stretching through the top of that right foot, that right quad. Positive inner dialogue. And we'll slowly, gently, mindfully release everything. Come back to tabletop position. So we're gonna do the same thing on the other side, beginning by extending that left leg long, just rocking through that left foot, left ankle a bit, noticing what's going on there, if anything. And then when you feel good, make sure that right knee is in line with that right palm. That right foot is extended toward the back edge of the mat. We're gonna slowly rotate onto that inner edge of that left foot. Open up through the chest, bring your left hand toward the ceiling. So with that hand either toward the ceiling or reaching toward the top edge of your mat, you're then gonna lift that left leg, point the left toes, and we'll gently lower and tap, lower and tap. Sync up with your breath, challenging the balance, building strength. Let's do two more. Nice and mindful. And slowly release, bring it all back to tabletop. From here, you can sit back on your feet or heels, and if it feels good, you can curl the toes under before you do that. Again, just stretching through the feet while we stretch through the wrists. So bring palms together in front of the chest, palms together at the heart. Interlace the fingertips. We're gonna roll through some waves, any easy organic movement that feels good for you here. Press away from the body like we did earlier. If you want to tuck the thumbs inside of your palms and just roll through any movement that feels good. Take you off the wrists for a second. We've got one last pose here. All right, so when you're ready, we'll come back to tabletop. From tabletop, you're going to lower down onto that right forearm and keep the left hand where it is. So right palm, both palms are pressing into the mat. Right elbow is right across from the left hand underneath the shoulders. You're gonna curl the toes under, press the hips up high and back for downward dog. Try to bring the heels toward the mat. Mine don't come to the mat here. Don't worry about it too much. And we're just gonna raise that left leg up toward the ceiling. Nice long line, nice and tall, nice and long. Balancing, building strength in that right shoulder. And we'll slowly lower back down. Both knees come to the mat. Bring that right palm back under the right shoulder, and then we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. So you're gonna extend that left palm up, bring that left forearm down to the earth, left elbow is just under the left shoulder, right palm is under the right shoulder, curl the toes under, send the hips up high and back, heels come toward the earth. Get balanced, get stable. And then kick that right leg up high, nice and long line. Reaching, stretching, building strength. And then slowly, mindfully, bring both knees to the mat. Come back to tabletop, we'll cross at the ankles, roll back to a seat. And then we're going to center ourselves on the mat and come to lying. We've got one more power pose here and we'll cool down. So this is going to be a variation of the hip bridge or glute bridge. So for that, we're going to start by opening the palms up toward the ceiling, making sure the shoulder blades are tucked in toward one another, just protecting the neck. Make sure you're not straining in the neck at any point through these variations. So from here, we're going to slowly press up for our bridge pose. And then once you're in bridge pose, press the hips a little bit higher. Snuggle the shoulder blades under again if you need to. Make sure your neck is nice and long, protected, feels good. And then we're going to come up onto the balls of both feet. So heels are lifted, hips are raised a little bit higher. And from here, we'll bring the hands in and under the back. Walk the elbows in to support the low back. And then maybe your heels stay lifted or maybe lower to the ground. And if you can't get your hands under at all, it's fine. We'll just stay working in bridge pose. Use your arms to anchor you out to the sides. And we'll start by drawing that right knee in toward the chest and then extending that right heel up toward the ceiling. Nice and long. Breathe long through that leg. Gently bend through that right knee, bring it back down. And we're going to do the same thing on the left. Draw that left knee toward the chest. Extend that left heel toward the ceiling. Try to keep the right knee from splaying out. And then bend that left knee, bring it back down. We'll just do a couple more on each side. Noticing what you feel. Nice and balanced. Positive inner dialogue. I am strong. All right, when you've got what you need there, very slowly, carefully press the hips up as you release the hands. Let the palms fall open. One vertebra at a time, slowly melt back down to the mat. And when you get there, bring both knees into the chest, wrap your arms around them. Maybe you rock gently, left to right. Take a minute here to find any easy organic movement that you need. Maybe it's a happy baby pose. Or even single stirrup. Just notice what your body's asking for. Try to honor that. Try to feel good in any movement that you find. When you're ready, we'll release both feet to the earth. Send the hands out left to right, and we'll take another QL stretch by letting the knees fall to the left. Bringing that left heel to the outside of the right knee. Letting the weight of gravity kind of pull that down as you encourage your right shoulder to stay toward the mat. Then you can take cactus arms here if you like, or if you want that deeper QL stretch, send your right arm straight up overhead. Back of the back of the hand is on the mat or the floor. Palm open toward the ceiling. Stay synced up with your breath. Notice what you feel. Give yourself this cool down time to just enjoy the nutrients of your practice. Feel good about the work you've done. And we'll slowly bend at that right elbow. Come back to cactus arms. Unravel. Soles of the feet are on the mat. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So let's just let the knees fall to the right. Take that right heel, rest it on the outside of your left knee. And then maybe extend that left arm long, up and overhead. Breathing deep into that side body, into that outer left hip. When you're ready, you can slowly unravel. Send the legs out long. Open up the palms toward the ceiling if they're not already. Alternatively, you can also bring the soles of your feet together and just let the knees fall wide. Rest your hands on the abdomen if it feels good. Or bring palms together at the third eye, whatever you like. For your final resting pose here. Give yourself these extra couple of minutes just to feel good about showing up today. Giving yourself this time. Try to remember the intention that you set at the beginning of your practice and your positive inner dialogue throughout the day. The way you talk to yourself matters. I encourage you to stay in this pose as long as you'd like, as long as you are able to, just for some deep breathing, reflection, meditation. We recognize that for some, yoga is a spiritual practice, but for all of us, yoga is a community. And I thank you so much for enjoying this practice with me today, and I hope to see you again soon. Namaste.